You had one job, Bev.
I had one job.
Horrible training therapist, I must say.
Okay, yeah, it's for a therapist, that's a really terrible thing to say, isn't it? I keep a secret. No, I keep those secrets really well. But we have pro-social coins, well, they're not coins, pro-social bags.
We have positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement for people. So if you ask a question, we only have 16 of these, but if you ask a question, then you get a bag of D&D dice. Woo!
And you get to catch it.
There you go.
And that's half the fun.
I was gonna divide them up and just throw one at you, but apparently we can't throw. Well, although we have a professional baseball player here, so
That's how being introduced now.
Professionally
he can get 'em
awesome.
right where he wants to get them. So.
Apparently, I just made the major leagues. Who knew?
That was quick. Always be prepared.
Your income's now it's gonna rise
That'd
like
be nice.
exponentially for that. So you have to keep track of time because
Okay, I'll
as
keep
you
track of
are
time.
aware, I have absolutely no sense of time.
T-minus 1 minute to D&D time.
Oh, okay. So that's Indian time. Can we just go?
It's Indian
Oh, I thought Eugene time was like 5 minutes late.
Oh, is that what it is? Is the Eugene time? Okay. All
I
right.
thought I just touched your phone.
Go for
What time is it?
That's kind of like Hawaiian time. It's sometime in that 24-hour period. Yeah.
I thought that was Texas.
Is that Texas?
No, it's Hawaii.
Oh, that's Hawaii. He goes, no, that's Hawaii.
We'll get to it eventually.
We'll get to it eventually, right?
Ever go on a tour bus and you want to go to the real Hawaiian places? Find the guy who's going, we'll get there in time, brother.
That's it.
Do you believe him?
I'm Native
Eventually,
American.
you'll get there.
Yeah, I'm Native American. I'm Cherokee, Lumbee, Occaneechi, Saponi. Indian time is like when the time is right. So we figure if somebody's late, it's just not time yet. They'll get there. They'll show up. It's almost Hawaiian time. Yeah.
I've also heard this called like Mexican time, Korean time.
Oh, really?
So at one
It's
point-
anything but
At
American
one point, do
time,
we just go like, this is
essentially.
actually how time works?
There you go. Well, time is a concept.
Mhm.
They say truly spiritual. They, like that random they.
Listen to it.
See, when I was in Philly, it was you had to be there 5 minutes early or you were late.
Yes.
Oh, really?
In the East
Oh.
Coast, yes.
Yeah. That's like, I've known Italians that are very like.
Someone just
very-
found something.
They're very precise.
I think it was a
They
door.
don't like late.
Well, it was just, it's
The
a
people
secret.
I know, they're
One way
like-
or another, it's a secret.
It's like an insult if you're late. Yeah.
Well, it looks like we have a pretty good group here. I think it's time for D&D time. I wish there was a soundtrack right now. So, I thought we'd get started by doing some introductions up here so you guys know who are you listening to. Go ahead, whoever wants to go first.
Go for it, Bev.
You should be a radio announcer. You're just like really cool.
It's my backup plan when therapy drives me out.
When therapy goes sour, you're gonna be
Yes.
a radio announcer. That's cool. So I'm Bev Hoberg. I'm a therapist, and I help run a D&D group that I kind of talked Ryan into running. Ryan over there is our DM. And this is Deanna, our moderator.
Yeah, who am I?
We're all therapists.
Yeah.
And you got introduce
In fact,
yourselves.
we're all hallway mates.
That's right.
We're all neighbors.
I've never seen these people before in my life.
They just stuck us up here. I'm Deanna. I actually am not actively involved in the D&D group at our agency that we work at, but I have sat in on it and I am excited about it, so I'm kind of like the cheerleader, so hey guys. And who are you?
Who am I? I'm Ryan. I am kind of a weird supervisory position at our agency now, though I do see clients about half the time, and I'm kind of the DM and teaching Bev to
Yeah.
take over for DMing at some point in the future.
He's our boss. That's what he's not wanting to say. He's our boss.
So we gotta be on good behavior up here. Okay, so let's start. We're gonna start with just kind of explaining what the group's about, what, different experiences that we've had in the group and all that. And then at the end, we'll give you guys a chance to ask questions if you guys are curious about anything or whatever. So, Bev and Ryan, tell us about the D&D group and what exactly goes on. when you play?
Well, we started in July, something like that, and we're up to 2 nights a week now.
Something like that.
And what we do is we have smaller groups, probably about 6 people is ideal, that we've been working with kids, mostly teenagers, for twice a week.
Can you guys all hear okay?
Yeah.
Everybody's nodding, okay, great.
We work with a lot. We were trying to, right before the group started, because we have this like so organized, we were talking about what we really work with. We work with a lot of different things. We work with a lot of Asperger's, we work with a lot of PTSD, we work with a lot of anger issues.
I think social anxiety is something that comes up a lot.
That's big. Social
Yeah.
anxiety is huge, yeah. ADHD, learning to focus better. Ryan came up with a really good intervention for focusing that was just hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that at some point here.
Great. Now that you know what it's all about.
How many of you guys have played D&D before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, dang.
So I figured
almost
most everybody, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, one thing I think a lot of people don't know though is that role playing is really commonly used in therapy. It was a conversation we had before we started here, in that a lot of times it's really common to role play like situations that may be anxiety provoking or may cause conflict with a therapist.
Yeah.
And to kind of switch roles, like the therapist will be you and you can be the person causing conflict, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Or you're your brother, or your
Mhm.
wife, or or
Yeah.
empty chair. Yeah. So D&D's kind of like that, but you get to choose who you want to be. So we have to be really careful about, like not letting too much information out because it's all confidential. But say you had a kid that was like had gone through a trauma. They can play out that trauma. So say it was I'm just going to make something up. Say it was like an abuse situation. You can't really take an abuser down if you're like 13 years old, but you can take down the dragon, right? So it's like you can put those emotions onto something and then you can overcome it. So it's like a big overcoming piece to it. Or ADHD, the focus part. I just love that. You should. This is hilarious. You should tell them about that.
Yeah, so one thing we had to do as part of starting the D&D group is figure out how is this going to be therapeutic? Like what
Yeah.
modifications can we make to make this useful and legitimate? So what we did is we looked at a couple of factors. We looked at common concerns people might come up with, or things like individuals we knew might need help working on.
Yeah.
So like, for example, the attention thing, I designed a dungeon where you walk through it and it's kind of this classic scenario where you see all these triggered traps and it causes some anxiety in the players, like, what's gonna happen next? When am I gonna trigger the trap? And by the time they hit the end of the dungeon, something happens to reset all of the traps. And then we take away all of the clues we had to how the traps worked, so it reinforced that paying of attention through the dungeon.
So you had to remember, you had to actually focus on it. So from then on, I think the focus got a little bit better for a while, but trying to pay attention to what was actually going on in the room instead of what was going on like in your own head. So, yeah.
Is this an ongoing group? Is this a one-shot situation? How many people are usually part of the group? What are some specifics, ladies and gents?
Oh, okay.
It's been ongoing since July, and we're wrapping up for the holiday season now. I think next week's our last one until we start again in January. And we're still trying to figure out the logistics associated with that.
Okay, we have just been informed that we need to get a lot, you are doing a perfect job, you get an A, but you and I need to get a whole lot closer. to
Okay, I can do
microphone.
that.
Okay, all righty.
Let's get close, y'all.
Alrighty, yeah, so, and then we hope to start up in the summer, well, sometime maybe in the spring, actually, and do some Saturday clinics and stuff, so. It's really popular. One of the things that's really great about this is we have several kids that there's always a population of kids, especially teenagers, that don't want to do therapy. They don't want to talk, they don't want to be part of therapy, and they're really resistant for whether it's social anxiety or whether it's whatever, bad experiences in therapy before or whatever it was. But we have a waiting list to get on this one, so it's, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually something I wanted to talk about more broadly, in that what makes this more useful than average therapy? Like, what's the pro of D&D therapy? So,
Do
question
I
for you,
answer
Beth.
that?
Oh, okay. What makes it a pro? Well, people want to show up. People want to come. We've had people that we do like we do 5 sessions and then we take a week break because it takes us that long to recoup and to make the new sessions and stuff. And we had some of the kids were really anxious because they were like, no, we're not stopping. We're not going to stop, right? I was like, no, we'll be back to it. So there's that. There's for social anxiety, it's really, we start out sometimes with kids that are really, really nervous about even being around other people. And I think it's really great because we've heard so many comments like, there are other people like me out there. This is like, it's not just me. I mean, this is like a thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big benefits, and it makes it more okay to make mistakes. If you do something and you're out in public in general and it's embarrassing, it's really awkward. But if your character does something and they fall on their face, or they have to talk like a pirate for an hour,
Yeah.
that is a much more safe situation to do it in.
Yeah. I think that's big with like the Asperger's population too, is that people with Asperger's want rules. They want, specific rules, and they want things to work in a certain way. And D&D has rules, although we've kind of fudged that quite a bit. But when things don't go the way that you want, instead of like getting nervous or having a meltdown, D&D kind of helps them see the fun in that, kind of movement that life normally has in it. That it's not just a set of rules. That that you can be more fluid with your life.
Yeah, I think it provides a really good framework also in terms of the alignment system, how to deal with someone who is chaotic evil and in a party of lawful good members, and both the conflicts that arise from that and the problem-solving skills you teach as part of it.
Yeah. And we do a lot of like puzzles and stuff with ours. We've got kind of I think they're all talented and gifted. That's what I think.
You must be a therapist.
They're just really awesome kids. So we do things where they can succeed, but we don't give it to them. It's not like they earn it. And then when they have worked through these problems, it becomes easier for them to work through other problems, because they've been successful at it. So
I heard that this therapy type draws from existential therapy and storytelling therapy techniques. Talk a little bit more about that.
I think that's your area, Beth.
I know, I was looking over here.
That's me. It does. This is true.
What do those things mean?
What do
They
those
sound very
things mean?
clinical.
It does. Existential, let's see, let's do shared storytelling is exactly what it sounds like, shared storytelling. So if you have something that you can share with someone and you're a part of that, it brings you closer together and makes you feel more comfortable, and it kind of opens your world up a little bit, makes you think, a little more open-minded and more unity and feel more secure. And existential therapy is the thing that people hate to explain the most. So
Yeah.
it's a philosophy, really. It's like it's kind of based on like Kafka and Frankl and like meaning of life kind of stuff. Like one of the things existential therapy points out is with every freedom that you have, there's a responsibility that comes with it. So if you want to get out of your parents' home and you want to go be on your own, that's a freedom that you're asking for. But the trade-off is you now have to learn to be responsible for yourself. You now have to learn to get an apartment. You now have to learn to pay the phone bill. So there's a trade-off, and we work a lot with that.
I had a professor in grad school who was a school psychologist, and he would say stuff like, you can't work with teenagers without having to deal with existential issues. Because that's a time in our lives where we're really developing our personality, who we're going to be, and what our views on bigger issues are. So just as a part of the course of therapy, existentialism comes up, especially with this population.
Yeah.
Would you guys say there's any reoccurring issues that start coming up through the D&D group, or challenges people might be going through that come out only through the drama that you guys are doing?
I think one of the hazards of doing a D&D group is it might amplify issues that are already existing. So if you have someone who, say, is a very competitive person by nature, that can make it more competitive and put people in a situation where they have to deal with someone being competitive and figuring out how to adjust their own behaviors and responses to that.
Yeah, we've seen really good things happen with that too, with people being competitive of each other, and then because they spend more than just the 5 sessions, they can sign up for as many sessions as they like. And they work with their own therapist too, not just us. It's not just the group, it's that they're in therapy with a therapist, and then this is an addition to what they're doing. But after they've been in the group for maybe a couple of sessions, that they seem to find that it's easier to do the pro-social stuff, to get along with the group, than it is to go and be the evil character.
Yeah, because oftentimes characters will respond, you know, if you're going to try and hurt somebody, we're going to stop you. And oftentimes that's by far the majority of the group.
Yeah, and that hearing people say, you know, no, you're not going to, you know, we're not going to let you do this, we're going to, you know, we're going to bind you, or whatever it is, that it gives them, they think it's funny at first, but then they start making observations that, you know, the group doesn't really think this is cool so much, and our groups so far have not been shy about telling people, that's not cool, dude. So, and that helps them. And then they have pro-social coins, which Ryan came up with.
Yes, I admit I didn't come up with this on my own. I cribbed it from some other role-playing game that I can't remember the name of. But what it is Bev painted washers gold, and what we do is we hand those out to players and give them to, with the impression that you can't use these for yourselves, but give these to the other players when they do something you like, when they succeed spectacularly, when you just want to make them feel better, and then that player can give them back to us and redeem for things like feats, new skills, spells, that sort of thing.
Leveling up.
Yeah, eventually like leveling up sorts of things. And by using that, we really have each other enforcing pro-social behaviors rather than just saying, hey, good job, and trying to force people to do that. It gives a very sort of tactile sense. And we've seen that work really well, especially when, say, a person might make a big breakthrough or do something that the whole group kind of just sits back and goes, that was amazing. And you see this flood of coins rush to the other person.
Yeah, and it's actually more beneficial. Was that good English right there?
Yes. Good job.
That was okay. All right. When it comes from the group members, when it comes from their peers, having them reward them for like taking the time to save somebody that was, you know, falling into a pit or something, than it does from just the adults in the room, you know?
I imagine this group that's been going on since July, and the group that's been together for so long, I'm imagining that perhaps there's been some issues that have come up in the group that perhaps the group have had to overcome together. Would you guys like to talk about that at all? Any challenges that might have come up?
Yeah, I think there are kind of 2 ways to think about. One is challenges just in the community around D&D, and the other is like specific within the group relations. One thing I think Bev's had to deal with more than I have is people hearing D&D and thinking, isn't that satanic?
Oh, that.
Magic, oh my, yeah.